have in front of me the Triax HMX431 4x4 4K HDMI matrix. It's available with free delivery directly from freetv.ie. The price point on this is excellent for a high-end matrix here, compared with, say, the other competitors. And the great thing about Triax is they really put the effort in the design of the matrix things here. So we've sold a number of ones over the years and had them installed in places where they can't go wrong, pubs, hotels, things like that. And the Triax ones have been, by some distance, the most reliable of the various brands. So it's what we've standard on going forward, okay? And the price point they're at is good for what they're selling. And also the other thing about it is every single thing that you need is included in the kit. Where we'll say if you go with other versions, sometimes they seem to be comparable in terms of price, but then you discover that there's only one remote control or not the full range of extenders, etc. with it. So it's great that everything you need for full functionality in the 4 locations. So what are you trying to achieve with the matrix? Well, first of all, you're trying to be able to support 4K picture. You're trying to run it over a Cat5, Cat6 cable, and what you want to do is you want to have outputs from 4 devices to be independently chosen on 4 televisions, and actually then be able to change the input or change the, just say on television number 4, you're trying to have the output of input 2, which is Skybox. So you want to be able to come along, go to that input, and then also pick up Sky Remote at that point, aiming at the local television and have the Sky channels change, whatever like that. So you've got a lot of flexibility in terms of how you're going to do it. So effectively it's almost like the 4 input sources are physically located from a control perspective exactly where each of the televisions is. So it comes in this outer box here, and the first thing you'll note then is this is obviously not designed really as a consumer product. It's much more of a professional installer type product because there's a little bit of setup on it. There's a user manual on it that's in English, so that's quite good. We have a power unit that's here as well, and a 3-pin plug that's for powering the actual main event here. So we'll talk about maybe the main event here, but just the matrix itself. So what we have here is we have the various outputs here, and you can see which ones it's switched to, and then there's a flick switch here, so you can flick from each one and move it over, okay? And which are the inputs it's using. And if we look in the back then here, we'll see that the 4 devices that we're actually going to be feeding in. So for instance, we could have a Blu-ray DVD player, we could have a Skybox, we could have a different satellite receiver, and maybe even, let's say, an NVR with CCTV pictures on it there. We have our IR output controllers here, and what we have here is, so this is to just give the control that we want on it. So IR in on the top, IR out on the bottom. I'll just show that a little bit now because we have the sensors here for themselves. So what we're saying in terms of the actual outputs that we're going to be using, we'll expect that at least one of the televisions will be locally. So what we'll be doing is we'll be running just a HDMI directly from here to the local television, where the other 3 will be remote, going through Cat5, Cat6 cables. And then we have ability, just extra setups here where we can have alarms, things like that set up, and it probably won't be using that. And that's where the power connects directly in here. It's a special type of screw-on one, and the reason to do it that way is so you can charge a fortune if you ever need a replacement power supply. Okay, so that's just a general design on it. So let's just imagine what we're going to set this up here. So we have our first television mounted on the wall here. We have a cabinet maybe 5 meters away, which has this thing in it. And then right beside it, it has our 4 set-top boxes, like I described earlier, in terms of an NVR, all the rest of it here. So what we will have here then is, in terms of the IR ins, what we'll actually do is we'll just come along here, and we'll run this over, and we'll use a little sticky pad that comes with it to put the IR sensor directly in front of the IR sensor that's on that particular unit. So we'll say our Sky HD box, run it over here. So now, and what we'll do is we'll run the HDMI output from the Skybox and put it into the corresponding HDMI input here, and we'll repeat the process there. So now what we have is the actual physical picture being run into the matrix here, ready for distribution, and with the ability then to be able to send the signal back to be able to control the box and things like that, okay? So what we have then at this point then is we will start running the output. So for the local television, we'll simply connect in a HDMI lead, a 5 or a 10 HDMI line, run it directly over to the local television. And for the televisions, we'll say that are maybe 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 meters away, we just run it in here through the HDMI outputs, run it down. And when we get to the far end, what we'll have is, we will have this, an input here and a conversion to run it out on the far side, which is a HDMI output on it. Now what's very, very important in relation to this is that it doesn't need a local power supply. This has been powered directly from the matrix itself. So you have that there and you run it then. So at that point there, in its simplest format, if you didn't bother with IR sensors or remote controls or anything like that, you just run it out, and whatever is set in terms of the input on this, that's what will be displayed on the output of your television. Now what you can do then is, by using an IR sensor such as this here on the other end, what we'll be able to do here is we're able to come along and we're able to run a sensor there, and what we can do is we can grab our remote control here and we can choose which what way we want to set up the matrix in terms of inputs and outputs. Okay, so we want output number 2 to go on, so at that local television, just say we're at output number 4, we want to say, well, we want input 1 or input 2 or input 3, 4, and we just control it directly there. Now the other thing to note, of course, is that if once we've chosen the skybox, we could actually pick up the sky remote there, aim it at the same sensor, and it'll send the signal back, not just through the matrix, but pass through the matrix directly back to your box to allow you to do the change over and back on it. So overall, we'll say, I like this kit here. We have an 8-way version of it here, so it's obviously designed for larger things. People are generally, when they're going for the 8 ways, it's not that they have more than 4 inputs, but that they probably have need the extra outputs in terms of 8. So if you just needed the extra one in terms of extra televisions and had the same on multiple ones, you could maybe use this in conjunction with a HDMI splitter. You lose a certain level of the ability to control from different televisions, but it does, it's one way around it here. But the 4x4 is definitely the most popular one, but there is demand out there for the 8x8 as well. So that's it anyway, an overview of the Matrix from Triax, the 4x4 4K, available directly from freetv.ie.